What an amazing discussion we have this morning for you. We are talking about strategically searching for a job online. How do you go about navigating the online world, by the way, for that dream job? If you've been clicking and applying and nothing is happening for you, we know that, and we completely understand the current situation in this country. So many youth without jobs. And so what is the way forward? And we also do understand even the frustration that's out there. We can even see it online as those text messages continue to stream in through our WhatsApp number and even on our social media platforms. Go ahead and talk to us. And I want to welcome back to the show, of course, Natalia Zara, still in studio with us. She is a headhunter and the founder of career development and recruitment firm justwork.com. We also want to thank Nelly Mutula, who is the head of human resources from popular job site Fuzu, for being with us to answer some of these questions that are coming in through, of course, our social media platforms. But yet again, ladies, welcome back. Before the break, we had a question, especially from one gentleman known as Shege, who called in and said that he would be paying to apply. From, you know, of course, your experience working with job sites, is this right that someone is going to actually be paying to apply for a job? Are there some companies that ask you to pay?
Okay, so there's the lady who also said that she went for a job. She did the due research and find that the company was real. And then when she went there, she found the job was not existing. One thing I'll say is, unfortunately, not all of us in this world are good. You find the people who really are good and are very honest about their dealings, and there are others who are not. It also goes back to the point of, it's not just about the jobs, and it's not just about getting a job. People feed out of someone's vulnerability. You find there are people who are scamming other people based on, oh, by there I can give you a loan, so go get this, give me this, and I'll give you this. And then there's now the other side, which is becoming a bit more popular, which is, I have all these jobs, but for you to get this job, you need to pay me 400 shillings. And it's usually very little amount. You need to pay me 400 shillings. I'll cover for your medical, for your police clearance, very basic things that are kind of requirement for this job. But one thing I'll tell people is, there's no single organization that should ask you to pay for you to get a job. Remember, at the end of the day, we want you to come in for us to be able to get something from you, which is where you're going to be working with us. And at the end of the day, we're going to pay you, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly. So if an organization asks you to pay, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
That's a really big red flag.
Natalia was like, scam!
Yes, it is. It is. It is. And then on another point is, if you go to a job site and you apply for a job, and at the end of the day, they tell you, oh, you need to be able to pay for this much. Do a bit of due diligence to come and find out that you either applied for this job using a Gmail email, or you send your CV to a site that was not the right site. There's usually something that is really, really wrong there with it. So if you do, we have written several articles on how to identify job postings that are very
authentic.
That are
authentic.
Yes,
Great.
and how to make sure that your data is protected as well.
So to anyone who's applying for a job, that's something you need to keep in mind. Be able to do the research to authenticate
beyond the website.
Beyond the website.
Yes.
Okay. So Natalia, over to another question that came in. We've got a very young, job seeker, someone who's fresh out of school. How am I ever going to be able to compete with the 1,000 CVs that have gone through, and I don't have that 10 years experience? I don't have what that company is looking for. So as a young person, I kind of feel like I'm already being boxed out of the race. Because what's my CV going to say?
Actually, the youth of today are actually the luckiest in the work employment. Really, really the luckiest. First of all, every young Kenyan must see themselves as a global employee. You must not think of yourself as, I can only get a job in a local company that I have to go into an office 9 to 5. Bangladesh, just over the last 2 years, has managed to corner the online labor. They are globally the second largest online labor provider. Online labor is growing at over 1,000% globally. It means your location is so irrelevant. There are hundreds and hundreds of jobs online. And even if you don't have a specific set of skills, and actually experience is no longer as important, the fact that you are young, you have a very open learning brain. It means that you can pick up things a lot faster than somebody who is already progressed in their career. And because literally 65% of children born today will do jobs that don't even exist. If we are saying that there is a lot of jobs going out of Kenya, not true. Kenya has moved 2 economy scales from 8 to 6. What we have to do is look at new industries. We need to look at fintech, agri-tech, biotech, wealth tech.
Everything tech.
Exactly, is moving to tech. And therefore, your location is no longer as relevant. So as an individual, don't just focus on creating a 2-dimensional CV, a dry document, and you just literally plump it on a job board or even LinkedIn. You have to have a live profile. You have to build personal branding. People buy people. And in fact, because you are young, you are able to learn new technology and move faster. And by the way, as a young person, you will no longer have a long one career path. No, everything is on a skill sets. You can go and teach yourself right now how to schedule MailChimp. You can go and teach yourself right now how to use Canva or anything else. So there is a huge amount of work that is globally and online. So you don't have to just think, I am going to be here. So
All right, very good point there, and we'll build up a little bit more on that right after Nelly tells us how to apply. So I'm going to ask, of course, our team at the back, my director, my producer, to step in at this point and just slap on a presentation for us in just a few. And as that is getting ready, Nelly, you can go ahead and even just build up on what Natalia has gone on to say. That today we need to, it actually starts with the individual being able to open their mind and understand your career projection and where you fall, you know, in this global trend.
Maybe one thing to add on to what she said is you don't really need to have done to work into the, move into the same business that you did your education in. People are nowadays becoming very diverse. You might have gone to school when, I mean, when you're thinking about your university, most of the times it's about, I just need to go to university. And I'm going to pick the course that is going to allow me to go there. So if I'm going to pick economics, you can actually be able to use your economics degree to move into marketing. You can be able to use this to move into finance, to move into sales. So it's not just about boxing yourself based on the education, but it's about thinking beyond your education. So you need to have a very open mindset for you to be able to do a lot more.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's get over to that slide that Nelly was so kind to actually put together for us to just show us how to go ahead and apply online. So it says setting up a compelling online profile. Nelly, please take it away.
Okay, so one thing that we figured out when we were doing this research is you find that there's so many people that are always looking for new jobs. And when you do a bit of research, you find that organizations have over, like not organization, but job boards always have more than 1,000 jobs all available every single day. So where are these jobs? One thing that we need to figure out is how then do we come up with a good CV that is going to ensure that I get that position. One thing about Fuzo is we are more than a job board. We are actually not a job board. How we define ourselves is we are a career accelerator. So we think beyond your CV. One problem that we face, and that's why you find people complaining, oh, I'm applying for jobs, I don't get these jobs, is because someone comes in and just decides to put their CV. And if I put their CV, they go to work experience and like refer to my CV. You go to skills and you're like, refer to my CV. That's actually what people write. It's just being lazy in such a way that you don't want to do more than that. So if we go through a job board that is actually very individualized, the journey is specific to only you. The first thing that you'll be asked to do is be able to select to be able to define your interests. So it will ask you, what are you in a graduate? Are you do you have postgraduate? It starts with your education. The second thing is also to define what industry are you looking for this job. One thing Natalia said is you need to be able to identify where does your skill matter. Which industry will it matter more? Which organization size will it matter most? So being able to define that as well. When you go down, there's also another aspect of you being able to now being asked specific questions. What is your career? What are you looking for? When it comes to now looking at your interest, you can be able to select based on categories. So for me, who is in human resources, I'll be able to select human resources. Someone else who is probably in finance will be able to select the accounting and banking. And this is very generic. This is what you find in most job boards. Now, there's also the aspect of you being able to define yourself. One thing that an employer will be able to specify is, I need someone with 2 years of experience, and this should be someone who is a basic worker. Because I'm also looking at maybe your cost, if I put 2 years of experience, is someone who is already more experienced beyond the 2 years. So I want someone who is a less experienced worker and someone who can be able to be within my, whatever it is I'm looking for. So your interest, what you define as your interest really, really matters.
Okay, and then the third slide.
So the third slide is now looking at the full career. If you look at it, it has more beyond just my CV. It has my interest. It has your career path. And your career path is beyond thinking about which job do I get to. But 10 years from now, why do I see myself? Right. You need to be able to create a career goal. You need to be able to take a personality test that is able to show more about you to the employer.
Right.
If we go to the final slide, one of the things you'll find is when it comes to, so there is the interest, there's a career goal, there's a career match and all that. And then now the last slide. So the last slide will have what a typical employer on Fuzu is actually able to see. Yeah. And this is where I have 20,000 people applying for a specific job. 20,000 is too much. Maybe 100 people applying for a specific job. And I'll be able to see their CV, which is ranked. This is why I talked about the ranking. Yeah. It doesn't mean that your CV will not be part of it, but it will be number 20, when there are others which are already appearing here. And I, as an employer, will not have time to go through over 20 CVs. I'll go and be able to filter based on the hard skills that I'm looking for. And then from that, it will give me a ranking, and I can be able to shortlist those people. It also gives me an overview of your personality as well. Right. So that is very, very important for you to make sure that you go through all the process without skipping for you to have a comprehensive online profile.
Wow. Yes. Okay, thank you so much. That's a great way of taking us through the basics. But the things that have stood out to be from what the two of you have said, it begins with you. You've got to stop the laziness. Yes. You've got to do the research, number one. Yes. Understand it begins from the company. Where do you actually want to be? And number two, being proactive to make sure that your CV is matching that job description as much as possible without lying, obviously.
Absolutely.
Without trying to deceive. So, number two, you can't also just be picking something that you have no idea about, right? Okay. So that's a great way to pick up, that conversation as far as how do I go about applying. Of course, we'll be able to put you in touch with both our guests in case you actually want to continue this conversation further. One of the other questions that has come up is about following up on applications. Natalia, why don't you tell us how to go about that? I've applied through Fuzu to a particular company. I've not yet gotten a regret message. Some people have said, I've been doing this for 2 years now. No response even from this company. How can they do this to me?
And I really, really, really feel for the individuals who have... It is such an emotionally draining journey, you know, when you are really going in there, wanting to sell your best, and you are constantly, showing motivation. And even after maybe you've got an interview, you still don't get actually any kind of feedback. Now, what I would say is this to job seekers. Don't just look at the job board. For me, if I see a job that is online and I really, really like it, first thing I'm going to do is try and identify who potentially is the decision maker. HR and recruitment are not decision makers. I do not decide who gets hired. I only influence the process. So especially for more senior roles or at any other level, if you see a role in finance and perhaps the role is in a particular company, go on to LinkedIn, look at the company, look at people who have this job title, go via a multiple route. So yes, apply on one way, send your CV to HR, but also try and find somebody within the company that is within that same function. Look them up on Glassdoor, and also you can verify any email. You can find anybody's email. We are in a digital format, so lots of multiple ways of doing it.
Okay, Natalia, why don't you take us through CV optimization? We've got a couple of your slides that are there. Very quickly take us through what you managed to put together, because this is something that has troubled quite a number of individuals.
Couldn't agree
Okay, so let's put that up on the screen and then take us through each slide very quickly.
Absolutely. So first thing is you have to really, really look to beat the application tracking tools. And this is where you need to use visual language. Visual language is when you quantify, you qualify. If you are an administrator, you'll say, over my 5 years experience, I've organized over 200 meetings on an international level. So use visual language and use very hard keywords and repeat them again and again and again within your profile. So first thing is make your LinkedIn. I prefer LinkedIn because it's permanently online.
Okay.
Or you can even work with job boards because it still is online. It's not sitting inside.
Okay.
And then again, it's as I said, is there's things called like resume parsing. Without confusing people, very high sophisticated application tracking tools will read your CV and actually create a profile all on their own. That's called parsing, and then you correct it. Any tool that has parsing means they have the best application tracking tools. Also make sure that your all of your profile, let's say that you are based in Kenya but you want to work in Tanzania, change your location to Tanzania. At least then you will actually be able to be found. So make your job title as similar as you can to what you are going towards without misrepresenting yourself. And as I said, we've tested literally thousands of CVs and almost all of them are less than 20% keyword. So you can actually email us and what we need is your job description and the link to the job description, because without the link we cannot identify which application tracking tool it is. So the first thing is send us your CV, send us your job description with a link, and we will send you a report that will really get you to see if the problem is your CV or the actual platform.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So there you go. You do have at least answers to some of the top 3 questions that have been coming through as far as online job searching is concerned. Another thing that, a question that actually did come through, and I said I'm going to ask this, but I think you also did address this. Nelly, does volumes matter as far as applying for a job or looking for a job? Natalia said it does not matter how many times you're going to keep applying, because people think like this is one of those, you know, those game shows whereby the more times you send in, the higher your chances of winning. This is this is not one of those situations, please.
Yes, I think one thing.
This is not Shabiki, it's not Tanzania. I mean, it's
jackpot.
not.
Jackpot.
It's not a jackpot.
One thing I would agree with what she said is, it really doesn't matter how many times you send in the application. But then one thing that I see over almost every single day, because on the other end, apart from being HR, I'm also a recruiter for most of our clients. You find someone applying for a job just for the sake of applying for the job. I saw a head of somewhere, I saw a head of some a specific department somewhere. But I'm interested in that organization. I'll just send in my application and say, looking to apply for a job in your organization. And you're like, how does it even engage with the job that I'm looking at, the kind of person that I'm looking for? So one thing that I would say is it really doesn't kill your job search experience if you're looking for, I mean, at the point where you're looking for a job, you definitely have to scatter your eggs so that at least some hatch, right? But then it's about making sure you're not applying for one job 20 times. Because also one thing about job sites is you can't put in your details more than 2 times. Actually more than once. What you'll find is, if you decide to do it once, the second time will tell you either your email has already been used or your number has already been used, so you can't create another profile. Now, the challenge comes in with employers who rely on emails. If you send an email once, twice, and I'll go through it and I'm like, this person is kind of desperate, and I need someone who is really not desperately looking for a job, so I might not want to consider this person. So it's about applying for as many jobs as possible, but not with one organization. You can, as long as I have maybe a customer success associate and a customer success specialist, these are kind of similar roles. If they have put them up together as 2 different roles, you can apply for those. But do not go and apply for my finance role, go and apply for my HR role when your skills are tied to this specific job. So be very smart about your job search. Be very specific about your job search. That's the only way you'll also be able to get as much feedback as possible. One thing that she was talking about is, why don't we get feedback? And the challenge is where we have these people who are applying for jobs that I do not qualify for. So then I'm also bound on, I do not have time for me to be able to go through maybe 2,000 other profiles that are coming in. So I'll just be able to give feedback to the ones that are actually a minimum fit for that, and the guys that I shortlist. So one thing I tell people is, if you apply for a job and maybe 4 to 8 weeks passes without you getting feedback from the employer, that's kind of feedback already, right? That's feedback already. You didn't get the opportunity. Because you won't put up a job when you're not looking for people. I think the other thing that was there is, I've been applying for this job, and then they're kind of were looking to fill the job with their relative and friends. I think we're past that age.
Yeah.
We're past that time where people put up job. Because then it's also, on the HR part, it's a waste of my time for me to put up a job when I already have someone else.
Right.
It's about using the time that I have on specific other things. So I will not spend my time putting up a job when I already know I have other people. So that's a kind of mindset that we really need to change. Right. If a job is there, please apply for it. Yeah. If a job is there, do not canvass. That's what I would say. But then be very smart. She's given you a technique of how you can go about making sure you get to the decision maker without making the decision maker feel as if you're just pushing yourself to them. Right. So at the bottom line is your job search needs to be very smart.
Okay. Some job postings don't necessarily indicate what the salary would be, Natalia. How do I go about, my asking price once I do make it as a candidate and I'm a potential, I have been shortlisted? How do I negotiate
on the salary?
On the salary, very huge question.
You know, this is a very interesting thing. I found that people with the same set of skills can have completely different set of salaries, especially not just in Kenya, across Africa. Yeah. There is a lot more standardization that is coming when it comes to salaries. Yeah. So Nigeria in Africa have already launched like a local index. Yeah. There are job boards, websites like Glassdoor that, depending on the company, can give you the actual salary. Yeah. The idea is this: the bigger the company, the more structure they have within their salary bandings, and they should not be bringing you outside of the banding. It may be on the lower end or on the higher end, but they have to conform because they're bigger companies. The smaller the company, the more they are salary sensitive. What I would say is the size of the company really makes the number one decision on whether this person can afford you or not. So also your role, the size of the company, all of these different things come into play. Right. So if you are earning, let's say, I don't know, 300,000 Kenyan shillings, and you go into a startup that have 3 people, they're not going to be able to give you, even if the job title sounds absolutely amazing. So look at the size, look at the industry, whether you have blue collar or white collar, and that means, am I kind of a manual worker, or am I a corporate worker? All of these different things. When it comes to salary, the first advice that I give is, do not just look at the amount that you are asking, but what value are you offering for what you are asking for? If you can justify that what you are offering in terms of value, and it doesn't mean that you are a fantastic graphic designer and you produce a fantastic poster, you don't now ask for 20 times what somebody else would do because you've done it creatively. What is the value that you're adding? And your salary should be based on that.
And a lot of us go in with this,
I want $1 million.
Yes. Right. So the question is, what value are you also pouring into the company, and understanding the size of the company? Some quick tips as we wind up, because we only have about 2 minutes to go. Nelly, how does someone go about dealing with job searching fatigue, for example? The 2-year, job search that has been going on, and someone has focused online, and, I'm exhausted. So what can you advise people?
Okay. I think the first thing I would say is, do not get yourself to that point. If you see because it kind of happens with more of young early graduates, so someone who has graduated and now spends 2 years, 3 years looking for a job, you need to look for something that will give you a competitive edge against everyone else. Right. And that's why you find that people who are usually lucky, they're done with campus, and even before they graduate, they already have a job. Why? Because this person was able to do more than just go to school. I look for internships, I look for attachment. I volunteered, I learned something different, I looked for a skill, I understood my career. Like, just know yourself first. When you know yourself, then you'll be able to push yourself to be able to just do as much as possible. And then the other part is where I think, as long as you have a goal in mind, and the goal is, I need to get a job. What you need to have is just feel very motivated to do it. Look for things that will keep you entertained. Is it, if I apply for a job and then I just work, then I'll just feel that job was okay for me. But then you also need to be very smart about how you apply for the job. It's for me, I would say, application fatigue comes in where you do not understand what you're applying for, and when you do not understand what you really, really want to do in your career. So first understand yourself, and then understand the kind of organization's industry size of the company that you're looking to go into and what your career goal is. And from there, you'll not get tired of applying for a job. And reach out to people who can help. We have career coaches. We have people who can be able to advise you on how to move forward. You can be able to reach out to her. You can also be able to reach out to us. We offer career coaching services that are able to move you from just applying for jobs, but also provide you with an edge against other candidates. And it's not just about doing your CV, but it's about how then when you get an invite for that interview, how will you stand out? Because in fact, most people actually get called to interviews, but they never get past the interview. And the reason for this is you interview and you don't interview well. So you also need to understand, how do I interview well?
How do I interview well? Very, very important aspect, which is still part of the hiring process. It is. Okay, so ladies, as we wind down, I want to say a big, big thank you. As we do so, I also understand we've got a WhatsApp message that has come in. Let's take a look at that very quickly. Hello, K24. How should a resume be written in a way that it clearly speaks who and what you are? And is it okay to apply for a job that's about to expire? I realize that being among the first applicants is already a win in itself. Wow. Okay. Natalia, you can address that and then we can see Kwaheri.
Sure. So how should a resume really stand out clearly? Make your resume not a big block of writing. If you put everything like a big block of writing, you are forcing me to read it. So just separate, put a little bit more, maybe bold in some of your keywords so that they actually stick out. Put a little bit more space so that I can actually read, and use visual language. This is really important. And with your CV, and also just to reinforce what Nelly was saying is when you are applying for a job, don't just say, these are my set of skills. Go in there, don't just say, give me any job, I want a job. But go in there and say, I can actually help you do this. Actually, I've realized that some of your website is not as contemporary. How would you recommend? Go and give some value add, even a little bit more. Can I help a little bit more? Instead of saying, give me any job.
Wow. Okay. So with that, Asante Sana, we want to thank Natalia Zara from justwork.com, and of course Nelly Mutula from Fuzu. The WhatsApp messages are just simply overwhelming. Thank you so much for the texts that are coming through. We're going to respond to you, by the way, we shall. And for those who are asking on how to get in touch with Nelly or Natalia, remember you can email Natalia on hello@justwork.com. Nelly Mutula, by the way, is on LinkedIn. She actually does pop up the minute you type in Fuzu, which is good work, good job. So you can get in touch with Nelly as well. But of course, get in touch with me on my social media platforms, or even 2K24 will be happy to put you through to our fantastic team to advise you on how to go forward with your career and of course with your online job search. Remember, it is not gaming, so it's not the more times you apply, the higher your chances of winning. Thanks a lot for watching. We sure hope that this was helpful and educative as it was for me. We'll catch you bright and early tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on K24. Have a beautiful day. The Daily Brief is up next. Absolutely fantastic.